Welcome to the deep dive. Today we've pulled together a really crucial stack of sources. It's a comprehensive quantitative risk assessment of U.S. sovereign stability, looking at data right from late 2025. And it really cuts through all the political noise to just give us the cold, hard data.
And the conclusion is, well, it's pretty jarring. The assessment basically tags the U.S. as a hollow hegemon. That's their term. They classify its status as high severity and systemic fragility.
Okay, so let's define that fragility. Let's dig into their key metrics. We're looking at what they call critical dissonance, the narrative dissonance index, or NDI, which is at just a dramatic 8.25 out of 10.
Wow.
And then there's the constitutional unraveling index, the CUI, which is sitting at a severe degradation score of 76 out of 100.
And that NDI, the measure of a shared reality just collapsing. It's all driven by a fundamental distrust. Trust in mass media has just plummeted. It's that historical low of 28%.
28%.
Yeah. And you pair that with congressional approval hovering around, 15%? The system has lost its ability to create any kind of shared baseline of facts.
And here's where that fragmentation just explodes.
Right.
They call it the information flip. The source material is pointing out that 54% of Americans now get their news primarily from social media and video networks. That has now officially surpassed traditional TV.
It has. And the scale difference is just breathtaking. I mean, think about the daily reach. You have independent voices, say Joe Rogan with 15.5 million subscribers on YouTube, or Tucker Carlson with 16.5 million on X. Their daily audience just dwarfs the entire legacy cable news ecosystem.
Right.
CNN primetime is averaging something like 570,000 viewers. It creates what the report calls algorithmic reality tunnels. We're all living in different factual worlds.
And the result of that is, well, it's systemic alienation. A crushing 75% of U.S. adults believe the country is on the wrong track. And that's a consensus of pessimism. It's shared across the entire political spectrum.
And that narrative dissonance, that feeds directly into the structural erosion we see in the CUI score. I mean, if the story everyone tells themselves is broken, how is the government supposed to function?
Exactly.
Look at the institutional decay they point to, specifically the reinstatement of what's now called Schedule Policy Career. It used to be known as Schedule F.
So for anyone who's not familiar, what does that actually mean day to day? Replacing 50,000 career civil service roles with political appointees.
It means you're swapping professional, institutional, memory reel, technical competence for politically aligned loyalty. It just accelerates the degradation of competence. And this decay, it's becoming violent. The Stage 3 Vulnerability Index is at 8.5 out of 10. That means the crisis is active.
Active?
Yes.
Yeah.
The source cites political conflict becoming kinetic. Things like the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk and even murders of state legislators.
So that failure of the political system to contain conflict peacefully, that's why this idea of a breaking compact is now mainstream. Support for secessionism, it's not a fringe idea anymore. Polling shows 44% of Californians are in favor of leaving the Union.
Yeah. And if the structural decay is the disease, the massive debt load is the fever that's accelerating everything. This is the fiscal accelerant. So even with strong real GDP growth, 3.8% in Q2 2025, 70% of the public still says the economy is poor. That's the whole rich country, poor people dynamic at play, driven by hyper inequality.
And that desperation meets what the report calls the debt cage. The national debt is at $37.64 trillion. That's 125% of GDP. But here's the most critical point, the real threat. The annual cost of just servicing this debt, $1.22 trillion, is now more than the entire U.S. defense budget.
Exactly, and that's money that's just
correct.
lost. It's not productive investment, it's just interest payments.
Yeah.
And this explains the eroding hegemony. The U.S. dollar share of global reserves, it stalled at 58%. It was 72% back in 2001. The world is actively, strategically hedging its bets.
So bringing it all together, what does this mean for the hollow hegemon? The system, according to these sources, is functioning purely on inertia. It's sustained only by the TINA principle. There is no alternative for the U.S. dollar.
For now, the sources make it clear the U.S. is highly vulnerable to shocks. So given the extreme fiscal burden and this documented global effort to find an off-ramp from the dollar, it leaves you with one critical question. What happens when the world finally finds an alternative, and that one last pillar holding this whole thing together finally breaks?